Welcome to Lesson 2 of Reading and Writing Engineering Research Articles. In this class, we'll be looking at the overall format of research articles. There are two common formats, IMRD and IPTC. And in order to distinguish them, first of all, we're going to look at the difference between division and section. Now, both of those, of course, mean part, but in this class, we'll be distinguishing them as a way of designating different parts of the research article. This is based on Chapter 2 of the textbook, and by the end of this class, you'll be able to determine the format that's typical in research articles in your field. Most science articles follow what's called an IMRD format. That is, they begin with an introduction, I, followed by materials and methods, results, and discussion. Those are the four divisions. And in science articles, the divisions are the same as the section titles. So you can see the section titles there, which are given by the author, are Introduction, Materials and Methods, Results, and Discussion. And then within the Methods division, it has four subsections. Now, some other science articles and some engineering articles follow what's called a modified IMRD structure, or IMRaDC. In this case, it has the same introduction, materials and methods, but then you have a combined results and discussion followed by a separate conclusion.
Okay, for example, my chemical engineering article follows a modified IMRD format. As we know from the last lesson, we know that the modified IMRD format we can also call IMRD and C. So we can look from the bookmark. We can see that the introduction, the method division, and the result and discussion division, and the conclusion division. As summarized in this table, three of the section titles are standard, the same as the division name. In chemical engineering, it is common for the methods division to have general section titles, such as experimental methods, or as here, experimental procedure. As with science articles, only the methods division has subsections with the titles related to the research.
So this modified IMRD format is common in chemical engineering, and also in other fields like material science and civil engineering that deals with basic materials, and in things like biomedical engineering. And as we saw, it usually has four sections that are the same titles as the division titles. So the section titles are general. Even if they don't match exactly, they're very common from one article to another within a journal. On the other hand, there are other fields of engineering like mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and civil engineering that's dealing with the structural side of civil engineering, as well as computer science and related fields that use this IPTC format. Now, what is that? Well, we're going to see that usually it has more than four sections. Some of the section titles are specific to the research, but it still has four divisions, which we're going to call IPTC, Introduction, Product or Process, Testing, and Conclusion. Now, these are analogous to the sections in IMRD. The process is very similar to the methods division in the IMRD format, except it's longer, much more important. Similarly, the testing is like the results and discussion, combined section, but it's usually shorter than it is in the IMRD format in science.
Okay, for example, my mechanical engineering research article has 6 sections, and unfortunately my article has no the bookmark like Wendy, so I will go along there. Let's see. The first section is introductions, and the second one is sliding mode control for non-dynamic wheelmobile robot. And inside this section, there are two subsections here. The first one is description and the WMR system, and the second one is sliding mode function and controller design. And for the section number 3 is switch second order sliding mode control. Number 4 is convergent analysis. And number 5, simulation and experimental results. As well, this section also contains 2 subsections. One is simulation results and experimental result here. And the last section is conclusions. Right now, I have summarized section and subsection in this table with respect to the IPTC format divisions. You can look at the section number 1 and section number 6, introduction and conclusions. The section title are the same as the division title, so these 2 section titles are standard. In the section number 5, simulation and experimental results, these 2 show the 2 way of the testing method, and this section title is very common use in engineering field. In process divisions, there are 3 sections, and each section title is very specific to the research in this article.
Okay, in the textbook, you'll find 2 examples of typical engineering articles in electrical engineering. And as you look at these, you'll see that they have a number of general section titles. Now, what do I mean by general? Well, we've talked about the division titles matching the section titles. And we've talked about specific titles. But general titles are things that are common from one article to another, but they're not specific to the research. And you may wonder where those go. Now, some of them are talking about previous work in the field. So related work, previous work, background, motivation. All of those talk about what has already been done, and therefore are logically part of the introduction. On the other hand, there are some like experimental results, simulation, verification, things like that that obviously belong as part of the testing. And then in between those, almost everything else should be counted as the process division, including a section called preliminaries, which introduces, in many cases, the current work. Now, not all articles are typical. The one that Kwok chose is an engineering article in electrical engineering, but it's not typical. Just like a penguin is a bird, but not a typical bird. So we'll let her talk about her article.
In this electrical engineering article, there are 7 sessions. The first and the last session is standard name, introduction and conclusion. The second session is general title, preliminary, and another session is related to the research topics. At the first, there look like there is no testing division. If you look at the subsection title, the first 4 follow is patent pattern, which related to the research topics. But in the section 5 and 6, there have subsection title experiment research, and this subsection could be called testing.
Now, her article was largely mathematical, but it has 2 short sections that talk about verification or testing. Some other articles are totally mathematical, and instead of having a process, they have really a mathematical proof. Since it's a mathematical proof, it's a logical proof, and then there's no need for experimental verification or testing. There's an example of this shown in the textbook in Table 2.6. So if your article is largely mathematical, take a look at that. Your article may fit an IPTC structure.